Hello everyone, today I will be reviewing Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was the first feature-length Disney animated film, and it was also the first feature-length animated film at all. This came out in 1937 and paved the way for the future of all animated films, as well as setting the standard for what was to come with the later Disney films. Now this story is based on a fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, and Snow White, she's the main character of the film, and she lives with her evil stepmother, the Evil Queen. And the Evil Queen, she always talks to this magic mirror that's on the wall, and she asks the mirror who is the fairest of them all. And every day the mirror has always said that the Queen is the fairest of them all, until eventually one day the magic mirror says that Snow White is actually the fairest of them all. So the Evil Queen wants Snow White killed so that she can remain as the fairest of them all. So she orders a huntsman to go and kill Snow White. Snow White escapes, then runs into the forest and ends up meeting the Seven Dwarfs, who are also absolutely fantastic in this film and all have their own individual personalities. Then eventually later on what happens is that the Evil Queen finds out Snow White is still alive and then turns herself into an old hag and gets this poisonous apple and tries to give it to Snow White. Although Snow White is the main character in this film, really, I think what really helps bring this film alive is these seven dwarfs. We really get to see each of their personalities. There's Doc, Dopey, Sleepy, Sneezy, Grumpy, Happy and Bashful, and all seven of them are exactly as they sound, except for Doc, who's basically the leader of the group, the guy who's in charge of the dwarfs as a whole, and all to do with their body language and their emotions, their facial expressions. We really see each of these dwarfs' personalities. It's also clever the way this film really portrays them as individuals, and it really brings them alive and shows their personalities on screen very well. Although now the animation may look slightly dated, I still think it's a very good looking film, despite the fact it came out in 1937. Bear in mind, this is one of the early animated films. It was the first feature-length animated film, and it was all hand-drawn, unlike today, and it still looks absolutely fantastic. It's very colourful, and even the scenes when it's darker, it still can be quite scary, especially for younger children. So there's one excellent scene where Snow White runs into the forest and everything turns dark, and Snow White gets her clothes caught on a tree, and some of the branches and the twigs, they turn into hands pulling her back. That's all very cleverly done. It all looks very good. Then we get the eyes in the dark, which will look very scary, which later obviously just turn out to be the animals in the woods. And it's scenes like this that are such a contrast to the colourful scenes in the rest of the film. It really all works very well, and it's just an excellent looking film. The film is actually just a piece of art in itself, or that's like how I view it. It's an excellent picture, and I think it's really stood the test of time very well. So obviously, being a Disney film, this has lots of songs in it, and I think all of them are still very good to listen to. So there's Whistle While You Work, Dig Dig Dig, but my personal favourite is Hi Ho. I think it's very catchy, very simple song, but it's very easy to know the lyrics, and I found myself singing along to it when I was watching it. I'm not ashamed to admit that. And yeah, it's very good fun. Hi Ho is sung when the dwarves are walking home from work and walking back to work, and it's just a song that you can whistle along to and have a good time with, really. So in terms of the downsides of this film, there's not really very many, to be honest. I suppose the Prince character, he doesn't really particularly do very much. He appears very briefly in this film. His role is really just to charm and woo Snow White. So we see him try to woo her at the beginning, and he later makes an appearance later on. But still, you know, it's a lovely story. It's a fantasy, and that's how it should be treated. This film shouldn't be taken too literally. It is a fairy tale after all, so there's no point over-analysing it too much. I think this is probably one of the best Disney films of all time. I wouldn't say it's the best Disney film. Some people think it it is the greatest. I think it is certainly up there as being one of the greatest Disney films of all time. I think it stood the test of time so well, but it's not my personal favourite, but I still think it's excellent and still worth showing your kids, or still worth watching as an excellent family film and an excellent Disney film. What Walt Disney really proved with this film was that anything can be done with animation, and that animation is not just for short, silly clips of animals beating each other up and chasing each other. It actually can tell a proper full-length story and be a proper theatrical film for people to go and see. And this film itself, it had loads of re-releases because it was such a classic, and ended up making loads of money at the box office, and is still, adjusted for inflation, one of the top 10 highest grossing films of all time, because of those constant re-releases and people coming back to watch it. So I'm going to give Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs a rating of 9 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic picture. Definitely watch it if you haven't already. It's a must-see for absolutely everyone. You can really sit down with the family and enjoy this one, and I think it's a film that has stood the test of time very well. So there we go. So that is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So have you guys seen Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Who is your favourite dwarf? My personal favourite is Dopey, but please let me know what yours is down in the comments below. Anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.